Hey there, motorcycle people. Buddy Tony back at you, but not on a riding day. We're currently in the middle of the big January snowstorm of 2026, and we're not going to be going anywhere today. So you know what that means. When we can't ride, we wrench. And today we're going to take inspiration from our weather and install some warmth on the SG250. I've got the Koso Apollo heated grips. I've got a lead pigtail for my heated jacket liner and gloves. And we're also going to install the Gerbing 12-volt panel mount, which will give us a nice clean place to plug in that jacket when it is time to finally ride. So let's get into it. As you can see, I've already disassembled that which needs disassembling to get to the electrical work. Took the tank off, removed the seat. I had a luggage rack that I had to take off and pulled both of the side panels. So what that does is give us nice, easy access to our battery, to a little space for running some wires, and then for the run up to the handlebars. I'm going to start today with the grips. I think that's going to be the more involved project. And the first step we're going to need to do is remove our existing grips. These are stuck on pretty good, so I think in the interest of simplicity, I'm going to go ahead and just slice them off rather than try to take them off nicely. If I have to get a replacement, if worst case scenario and something goes wrong, I gotta get a replacement set. They are super cheap from CSC. So I'm going to take these off and then we can see what we're working with underneath. You may have noticed we are not in the Avoid Highways garage today because it is super cold out there. Instead, we are in the Avoid Highways breezeway, which is temporarily serving as my mechanical workspace. It's nice and toasty warm in here. And there we go. Through that grip. All right, passenger side grip, easy peasy. And removing a throttle side grip is just a little trickier if you've never done it before. What you want to make sure of is that you don't slice through that white part, which is your actual throttle tube underneath the grip. That is the part that you're turning around the handlebar to make the throttle go. So when we slice through this grip, we're going to be real careful not to go through to the throttle tube underneath. This is the part that makes me nervous. I think as long as I'm not too ham-handed about it, we should be just fine. Look at that. First try. And now you can see the white throttle tube. See how that rotates around the handlebar underneath. Now, the first thing that I'm observing here is that this throttle tube has these raised ribs on it. And the Koso instructions say it needs to be smooth and you can't have any of that raised stuff. So I think I'm probably going to go with maybe a little Dremel to get some of the real high ridges off, and then maybe some heavy grit sandpaper to try to smooth out the rest. All right, I got my Dremel, and we're going to attack this. I honestly think this is going to be the hardest part of the entire install, is just smoothing out these little ribs. I'm going to smooth this down as best I can and try to give a nice runway for the rider side grip. So here we go. That's going pretty well so far. Well, that was messy. All right, got the rough cut of it. We're going to use some sandpaper to smooth that out. Okay, there's our prepped grip. As you can see, I got all the little ridges filed off of it. I took the sandpaper and smoothed it out. That created a ton of dust. I will tell you there's a couple of things. One, you might be better off just removing the throttle tube from the bike. To do that, you would remove this housing. It's a couple of screws up under there. And then you could put your throttle, clean it all up and put your throttle tube back. That might be a better way to go. If you're lazy like me and you want to do it in place the way that I did it, would recommend I just threw a towel over the bike because I noticed that the bike itself was starting to collect the plastic dust. So at a minimum, I would do that. Had I to do it over and more ambition, I might take the throttle tube off. But I think we're in good shape. And now we can work on fitting the grips. Yeah, those things, the grips. Let's go take a look at them. All right, the Koso grips are essentially a three-piece unit. Here you've got the wiring harness, and that connects here and here to the left grip, which has got the button on it for activating. And then the right grip, the throttle side grip, has the skinnier wire and no button because it's activated all through the left-hand grip. So I'm going to disconnect these to put the grips on, and then we'll put our wiring harness in place, get that in a good spot, and then reconnect everything back up. I will tell you that the Koso instructions are very clear that you should not pound on these things as you might mere mortal regular grips. So we're going to just try to push them straight on, and if they are loose, we will add glue. And if we have any trouble getting them on, we may also add glue. So here we go. Before we start putting the grips on, just a quick reminder, I am not a professional. I am learning and making this up as I go. And so if you are uncomfortable doing any of the things that I do in these videos, don't get a professional to do it for you. One of the things I love about CSC motorcycles and my SG250 is because it's very simple and not very expensive, I feel free to experiment and to learn and to do things like this on it. So that's just me, though. If you are more worried about your ability to carry anything out, don't do it and get somebody to help you. But for me, that's part of the fun of owning this bike, is being able to take on these projects myself. All right, it's the moment of truth. Put my right hand grip. I'm going to try to keep the wire pointing pretty much straight down. I'm going to just slide it on and push straight on as possible. Okay, almost there. Do remember when installing a throttle side grip that you got to leave space for the grip to turn. If you push the rubber all the way against the housing of the switch, you will be stuck. So here we go, one last big push. Oh, all right, it's resisting me a little bit. Okay. Could still go sort of back into the place where the original grip was, but I have a lot of space at the end here. Try to go just a little further, or maybe not. You know what? I think I'm going to call that good. I don't want to damage the grip. And I think once I put my bar end weight on here, it ought to still be good. Okay. So throttle side grip on. Let's go to the clutch side. All right, I fibbed a little bit. I tried my bar end weight and it was rubbing on the end of the grip, so I did push it further in, but as you can see, there's still a small amount of daylight between my grip and the switch housing. And now when I fit up my bar end weight, it's not rubbing. It's not rubbing on the grip. So we should be in good shape. All right, left-hand grip. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to keep this switch basically where we want it so that our thumbs go directly to it. And we're going to push straight on. Okay. So that is extremely tight. I think we're going to actually have to use the glue just to have it sufficiently lubricated to get it on. I was trying it with a little of my favorite temporary lubricant Windex, but that's not going to get the job done. So let's glue it and it'll be on there and hopefully slide on nice and easy. Oh look, the Avoid Highways dog had decided to join us. Hey puppers. Honey, you want to go outside? Okay, come on. Let's go. A man, his dog, and his motorcycle. What else do you need? Okay, back to work. The Koso kit does come with a little tube of what they call super glue liquid. Yes, super glue. And we're going to take a little bit of that and put it just inside of our left-hand grip to give it a little lubrication. Work it on there. Holy cow. Okay. All right, I'm going to go for more glue and then try again, but yikes, this is tough to get on. All right, attempt number 2. There we go. Trying to just press straight on per the instructions, but very hard. All right, you know what? I'm backing it off because there's no way I'm going to get there. I got to back this out and figure out what to do. All right, guys, we're going to go at it again with the Magic Elixir mixture of dish soap and water. I'm going to slick it all up and hope that this gets it on there this time. Still not getting there. Son of a gun. All right, well, we're going to retreat again. Get this guy off. Come back at it somehow. All right, guys, I did it. I finally got it on. We are not going to discuss how I got it on in case I need to make a warranty claim. But there it is. We got the left grip on. Button right there. It is a little closer to the indicator than I would like. But once I got it on, I have been unable to rotate it further down out of the way. So it's going to live there, and we'll see how it goes. But anyway, there is both grips on, and now we'll move on to wiring. All right, so for the wiring, the process is going to be fairly straightforward. My plan is to take the handlebar wires, grip wires, and run them sort of parallel with the existing control wires on both sides. So we'll bring this one along here, and then we'll find an appropriate place to mount this little, there's a fuse in there, probably going to go around there-ish so that we leave plenty of slack in that wire from the grips, and then we'll unfurl our pigtail here and connect to the battery and find a place to tuck it away here. So let me do that and then we'll see if it works. I just want to show you real quick, coming from the left grip, just cinched it up to the existing control cables, attached to the bars in the same spot, followed the main control bundle down and actually tucked underneath here, if you can see that. Brought it around and it's going to come up somewhere around there. Okay, and on the right side, again, pretty much the same routing. Let me try to, sorry for the flashing. Remember, you've got to keep some slack in the wire coming out on the throttle side, because it's got to be able to go back. So kept a little slack there, traced it up, and again, sort of following the same route as the existing wire bundles, and we end up down here. All right, it is time for the moment of truth. As you can see outside, it has gotten dark. This project has taken way more of my day than I expected, but of course I say that about almost every project. So let us put the power on. We are all wired to the battery now. Press. All right, we got power. Let's see if we get heat. So I'm going to fire it up here and just give it a minute and see if we warm up. But the light being on is a good sign. We're at least halfway there. And after about a minute of waiting, I can confirm we're getting heat in the left grip. Starting to warm up. And heat in the right. Awesome. Okay, well, we'll see how this goes now. I'm going to let it sit and warm up a little bit, but I can tell they are already getting nice and toasty. So we are in business. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a night for now. So we got heated grips. We are there. It's awesome. I'm really excited about that. I used to have those on my Tiger, and it was a really nice feature. So looking forward to one day, eventually, when all this snow melts, getting out with warm hands. But going to call it a night for tonight, and we will get back at it tomorrow with our pigtail for heated gear and the Gerbing port to make it nice and convenient to plug into. So back at you tomorrow. All right, we are back at it after a good night's rest. And today's portion of the project should be a lot easier, knock on wood. What we're going to do today is install a pigtail for running heated gear. I have a heated jacket liner and gloves. Those are lovely when the weather is bad. So what we're going to do is take our basic pigtail here, and we're going to enhance it with the Gerbing 12-volt panel mount. I had one of these on a bike that I previously had, and it's awesome. It just plugs into the end of your typical pigtail cord, and then what we're going to do is mount this part here onto the side panel, one of the little side panels of the bike, so that there is a permanent in-place port for us to plug into. So it's really, really nice in that you don't have to have, you know, a loose pigtail hanging around. I loved it on the other bike that I had. It allowed me to just sit down on the bike and plug right in. So this shouldn't take long, and hopefully we will get a nice looking finished product. Okay, if you have never installed a pigtail before, it's pretty darn simple. You do want to make sure that when you undo your battery terminals, get that negative off there first and get that completely clear. And then we'll remove the positive. Now, as you can see, it's getting a little bit crowded in here, as I already have two other accessories installed, and that is my heated grips and my quad lock charger. But I've got my pigtail ends here for the heated gear. And I'm just going to add that to the stack of terminals here that I got going. Let everything find a home. Get it tight. Okay. And then I'm going to put that back on. Positive on first. And it is stacked, so it's taking a second here to grab. There we go. Trying to keep my big hands out of the way while we do this. Okay, and then I'm going to add this one as the outside. Back it on that one, and that one. We got a little fan shape here of terminal leads, but everything has a home. Everything's got a little bit of space, so that will work just fine. Okay. All right. And I know this all looks like a hot mess, but it will be covered up by the side cover, and we won't need to worry about that. Make sure we get it nice and tight. There we go. We are electrically connected. I'll try to show you what I did with the routing here. So this little fuse box here is connected. There we go. It's connected to that pigtail. And I just ran the wire under these existing bundles for my other accessories. And if we come around to this side, you can see it just comes out here above the airbox. Now, if this is all you did, you've got an end that you can plug in your heated gear. That you could be done right here. You just find, somewhere here on the side where you want to have the end available to plug into, and that would be all you needed. It's really that simple. But I'm going to take it a step further and put in that panel mount, and we'll take a look at what it takes to put that in the right position. Okay, so to figure out where to position the port, I had to get the side case back on, side cover back on, put the seat back on, and sit in my normal riding position. I'm wearing the hot wired jacket liner, and it has this little cord here, which I actually thought was a little bit longer. The fit is a little tighter than I had hoped, but it's got this little cord here that will attach to my port to provide power to my jacket, and then there's cords from the jacket to the gloves to power them. So if I get up here and sit in my normal riding position, holding this side panel in place where it would normally be with the fuel tank on, that's where I started to put this on and realized that the other grommet is on the fuel tank, and I don't really want to put that back on right now. So we're going to just hold it in its approximate location, thereabouts. And then I put my leg up and I reach down with my plug. It's a little tight. Yeah, I'm not going to kid you. It is a little bit of a tight fit on this bike in particular. But right there on my panel, if you can see that, put my leg back up, make sure I'm sitting straight forward. Cord. Yeah, I think the best spot is going to be right about there. I can get my leg out of the way. So I'm going to pen mark right about there. And that's where I'll drill my hole to mount my port. All right, next thing we've got to do then is drill that hole in the spot I marked when I was sitting on the bike. This is probably, for most of us, the most nerve-wracking part, is drilling holes in our plastics, but just remind yourself, CSC parts are inexpensive. CSC parts are inexpensive. It'll be fine. I'm using a 5/16 inch drill bit, and we're just gonna and there we go. Nice clean hole. Now I'm going to show you how this assembles. Unfortunately, my Gerbing panel mount arrived damaged, and so I'm going to have to get that replaced. But what you're going to end up with is you'll have this little, basically this is how it'll look. On the outside, you'll have this little nut with the port. You've got this little rubber cap to seal it when it's not in use. And then you just plug your heated gear right in there. But on the inside, you'll have that. You've got a rubber washer, a little lock washer, and then a little nut that will hold it all on and hold it in place. And then, yeah, there you go. You'll have this awesome little panel port. And when you sit down on your bike, you can plug right in. And when you're not using it, it's got a little thing to seal it up. Some people might find that aesthetically displeasing. And if you're in that camp, then by all means, just use the pigtail and, pull it out when you need it. But I found the convenience of this to be really, really nice. And honestly, didn't even notice it on the bike after it was installed and it was there for a while. So I'll show you real quick how that attachment will go inside with the cables, and then I think we're going to call it a day. Making the connection in here couldn't be simpler. This is the end of my pigtail. I take the red end of my panel mount and plug that in, and we're good to go. This is the little pin where my gear will actually be making a contact when I get a non-broken panel mount, and that can, you can either sort of run it underneath the air intake there, or, it's not going to block air. So, wherever it needs to be inside there. I personally will probably take some shrink wrap, some shrink tubing, and put it over this connection so that that's held nice and tight and sealed up against the weather. So there we go. I hope you are thinking warm thoughts. Thinking of when the snow melts and we can all get back out and ride. We've got our heated grips now on that are going to extend our riding season and get us out there earlier. And we're going to have a port installed for our heated gear once I make my return and get a replacement. That's going to keep us nice and toasty with our heated riding gear. As always, guys, thanks for coming along in the breezeway today instead of the garage. Appreciate when you watch these videos and hope you're having a good time watching them. Do appreciate if you can leave a like on the video, and please feel free to join our subscriber list. We're at like 172 strong now, which feels pretty good for a niche little channel like this. So always appreciate you guys taking the time to watch the videos. Hope it was informative and educational. Like and subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.